No, there's nothing wrong with learning to write with the word processor. What's wrong with it is the word processor has been taken out of the standards altogether, and it's assumed that it's being taught somewhere, but now there are a lot of assumptions that things will be taught when they're no longer specified. So that a teacher looking at a curriculum doesn't see this child needs to learn to use an integrative approach to technology, needs to integrate a database with the word processor, needs to be able to use a presentation.
Scott, I have a question back here. If I may. Thank you. No, I need the microphone. Well, yeah.
Thank you. I hear this, we're down here in this kind of nitty-gritty or trench about working with word processors and working with mice and some of that kind of stuff. Most of these kids, they know how to work a Nintendo game. They know how to work all this other stuff. They should know how to do this before they ever hit the first grade. For the matter, I come from a place where I think kids shouldn't be allowed in the first grade until they know how to read. All right? But, and you can do that. I'm interested in hearing how you're taking what you're calling technology, and I think Brian was correct, all right? This isn't anything special anymore. This is things that they already know about. I'm interested in how you're using this to further the education process. I'll give you one quick example. 10 years ago at Manoa Innovation Center, there was a group there when I was over there, put together a CD-ROM that had the game, it's this matching game, Magwang, I think is what it's called, where you match the tiles together. They put pictures on a matching tile, and they put Japanese characters on the other, and they took that into the elementary school, and the kids learned those Japanese symbols very quickly by learning how to match that game. Now, if you put things in an interesting way, and some of you have alluded to doing some of this down there, and I think that's great, right? These kids will pick up all that stuff. So the mechanics of it is simple. They know how to do that. Or if they don't know how to do it, I think they should. So I'm interested in that.
Thank you, Courtney. I think we should maybe clarify a few points. It would be nice for our kids coming into first grade to be computer literate when we have some schools with 50 to 60% of the children speaking English as a second language, or kids coming out of foster households. I think it's a great ideal that in first grade you're computer literate, but given the population most of our schools serve, many families are lucky to even have a computer. And I'll zero in on a comment Ted made. We're talking 4-to-1 computer ratio. So let's make sure we're all clear on something here. Okay. We got schools where half your kids speak English as a second language. They come from impoverished families. There's not a computer in the household. They go to a school where you have, Ted mentioned 4-to-1 at Enchanted Lake Elementary, the second most affluent community in the state of Hawaii, where we have more millionaires per capita than the other state in America. 4-to-1 computer ratio. Now, did we miss the point? 2-to-1. We're getting to 2-to-1 now. But, all right, 4-to-1. Okay, 4-to-1 average in schools. And then let's make sure we caught what Sherry was pointing out, which is that now we have integrated technology with curriculum. It sounds great at election time. However, with a 4-to-1 or 2-to-1 computer ratio, how integrated is technology with curriculum when you don't even have the equipment? So let's keep hearing what they're saying. I'm hearing some good examples of where it's being used, but let's not fool ourselves. There's no such thing as every kid coming into Hawaii schools in first grade with computer literacy. We're too poor a state.
Well, I'd just like to, for a second, speak about Khalid, because there was 216 students there, and every single one of them was on the free lunch and free breakfast program, so they definitely qualify as what everybody would talk about as a low-income, school area. Now, when I was hired to be part-time, naturally I took over for somebody that was a full-time. So the previous person, when he left, didn't leave any of the passwords, so that was a problem. There was no IP addresses. That was a severe problem, because as soon as things happened and I went to go fix it, I found out I wasn't the administrator. I had to go reinstall systems, had to go look for the software, but all of that is another story. What the point I want to tell you about is when I call for help, and you know, Scott's lucky because he's self-sufficient. Can you imagine what Scott Belford was speaking of when he said the English teacher takes over as a tech coordinator? So I called up NSSB, Network Services or something, and I asked the person that I was giving the number to, you know, I'm at this school, I just started, I don't know the IP addresses, they're all static IP addresses. You know, what should I do? Can you just come one day and help me? He says, I have 56 other schools to take care of. I can't come and, you know, well, you know, he gave me a range, and I had to go around and set up the IP addresses how I thought, and I kind of learned on my own, but that's the kind of support that, you know, the technology coordinator, which actually is in a position, gets from the DOE.
Can I say something? As far as we educators, anybody who believes in education, that everyone, since we're Americans, should be equally educated. I think one of the worst things that happened in my generation of a baby boomer, when I watched my niece and nephew growing up, Sesame Street is a great show. And it seems like even in the business world, when you train, there's kind of this responsibility for you to be entertaining everyone, or it's your fault. I don't think that works. I think we should throw that out the window. There are certain things, and the teacher or the educator or the trainer has a responsibility to try and focus and get certain things across. But I don't think we should always get slapped on the side of the head because it's boring, even if it's right. You have a mixed group of people out there, and it's not going to be fun for everyone all the time. So I feel sorry for you guys when you have to do it. I think that's the public's fault.
Wow, what a powerful group we got here. We got panel of advocates. You're looking at them. You're looking at us. One of the contractors that knows 200 principals. And he's been charged with the responsibility of taking the schools to the next higher level. We got HOSEF, great facilitators. We got at least one company that's making educational software. Let's go for it. Now, we got legislators and administrators are asking why we can't do this. And the insinuation is there's no money. So we're going to throw money at this problem to make it happen. We know that's not going to work. For example, I'll give you a little story about the English as a second language problem. A good friend of mine, former Navy shipmate, took his family to Taiwan to go to work for a private sector plastics company. Brought his family. And he got some bad vibes, reputation. The American school was known more for your ability to obtain drugs in that school than it was to get an education. He said, well, I want to send my kids to the Chinese school. What do they teach there? He had to ask his company, what do they teach there? He said, do they teach language skills, and communication skills, math, science? They do all that. They do it in Chinese. So he sent his kids. I went to visit him a year later. His kids are all speaking Chinese. They're doing great. As far as I know, they all went on to go to college. So English as a second language being an impediment to learning is only a temporary thing. It's just and everybody sitting up here has got credentials in education knows that. So let's